Hi, I'm Caleb and welcome to my Ansible tutorial series. In this series, I'm going to talk about what Ansible is, how to install it, and how you can best use it. So let's start with what Ansible is. Ansible is a configuration management tool, which means that Ansible can be used to ensure that a computer is configured in such a way that you define. Other tools that do this are things like Puppet and Chef. In this, we're just going to talk about Ansible, though. So first, let's talk about the two sort of paradigms, design paradigms of configuration management tools. There is what's called the push method and what's called the pull method. So in the push method, you have one or more computers that you run your tool on, and then they go out to each client and they configure the client. In the pull method, you have a bunch of agents on your clients, and those agents will talk to a centralized server and get information about their configuration, and then they will apply it themselves. These are sort of two different methods. Each one has its benefits and disadvantages. Ansible uses the push method. So now that we've covered that, let's jump into how you would install Ansible. There are a couple ways to install Ansible. The first way is you would use your package manager that comes with your Linux distribution. In my case, I'm on OpenSUSE's Tumbleweed, so that would look something like zypper install Ansible. If you're on Ubuntu, that would look like something like apt-get install Ansible. This is not necessarily the most recommended way, largely because your Linux distribution might not have the version of Ansible that you need, or it might not have Ansible at all. So, because that is oftentimes the case, we can install Ansible using something called a Python virtual environment. So in order to do this, you will need the Python virtual environment binaries installed, Python pip installed, and Python 2 installed as well. Once you have all of those installed, you can create your virtual environment as such. So you do virtualenv space -p space and then the path to your Python binary. In this case, it is user bin python 2, and then the name of your virtual environment. I name mine venv by convention, so that's what I'm going to do. And this will take a couple seconds, and then it's done. And then now we need to activate our virtual environment. We need to tell our shell to use the binaries inside of our virtual environment instead of using the things that it would normally use. So we do that by sourcing a file, and that is done by doing dot space and then the name of your virtual environment /bin/activate. And now you'll see on the left of my prompt that it says venv in parentheses. This means I'm in a virtual environment called venv. And if you ever want to leave your virtual environment, you can run the deactivate command, and now you'll see that I'm out of my virtual environment. I'm going to reactivate that, and now that we have our virtual environment, we need to install Ansible into our virtual environment. So I'm going to run pip install Ansible. And then this is going to download Ansible and install it into my virtual environment. It's important to note that when you install Ansible into a virtual environment, you will only be able to access Ansible when you have that activated, when you have your virtual environment activated. So every time you start a new shell, you will need to activate your virtual environment. It is also not recommended that you install Ansible system-wide using your package manager and in a virtual environment. This can cause some weird issues. It makes it harder to debug when things break. So now you have Ansible installed. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to get started with using Ansible and how to manage some basic things on a machine. Cool, thanks.